Hello students, today you're going to take Cornell notes digitally, and here is the title, Cornell Notes Analyzing Graphs. If the video is going too fast, remember to pause it or rewind it. The first thing you can write down is the definition for graphs. Graphs are diagrams, which are like pictures, that provide you with data or information. Let's look at this example of this graph right here. In this graph, the first thing you should notice is like who makes the graph. So you see right here it says NOAA. This tells me that this graph is made by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is like a government-sponsored agency that provided this graph. So when you look at a graph, you kind of want to like look at its source to make sure that it's legitimate, because it might just be made by some random person, and then it might be all incorrect, have misinformation. Let's look at what data it's telling us. So let me underline here, data, what information. So in this particular graph, when you look at graphs, don't just look at the picture, but look at the numbers, because I noticed that when you analyze graphs as a 6th grade class or 6th grade students, you kind of just look at the curves or the lines, but you don't look at like where it begins. So on the benchmark, they might ask you like, when does this graph start like providing data? Well, looking at this, 1880. So this graph right here, let's look at the title. The title will give you information about what the graph is about. So it's about temperatures over the land and the ocean. So once you look at the title, you're like, okay, that's what this graph is about. When does it start? Because some graphs can be about millions of years or thousands of years. Some graphs can be just more recently. So you gotta look at those numbers at the bottom, which is the x-axis, and on the side, which is the y-axis. Let's analyze first the y-axis, which is right here. So this one, it tells you, usually every graph will tell you the information. This is telling you in Celsius how much there's been cooling or heating. And you notice it's only in points percents. It looks like it goes in 0.2%. So the Earth hasn't cooled that much. Really, it's just like 1 or 2 degrees. It goes from -1 to +1. So it's not that much, but it has a huge influence when it comes to melting glaciers and global warming. So from 1880, you notice that there's this like a line or a slope within the graph. It's in blue here, and it's going up and down and up and down, which is made over those bar graphs. And then for the most part, there's been cooling and then heating, and then cooling right here is cooling again, and then a lot more heating in the latest time period, which is the 2000s. Alright, go ahead and write down the question for the notes. What is a graph? Your job is to make up questions for 2 and 3. I will be checking notebooks next week, and I'm going to be looking for those questions, so don't forget to actually make them. And the summary and the advanced question at the end as well. Number 2. When using a graph, the first place you can start is reading the title and asking yourself, what is the graph trying to tell me? So if we look at this different graph, you've seen this one once before, when we were talking about acid rain and air quality. This graph, here's the title, is the average air quality by years. And then you can see that here on the bottom, it's every year, 2003, 2004. And then here, this is one of the sets of data, or the categories. So for this one, the category would be years. And then this is the other set of data or category, which is the air quality. Alright, go ahead and make up a question for number 2. Alright, last idea. And remember that you can rewind this video if it's going too fast, or pause it. Okay, let's look at this graph. Kind of complicated. There's like a lot of things going on. Another thing you notice with graphs is that aside from having the x and the y-axis that have information, such as this graph has the years and the temperature difference, sometimes graphs also have keys. So if you look at this one here, it has like a key, like a legend, and it tells you that red means that there's an increase in temperature, and that blue means that there's a decrease. Looking at this picture of the Earth here, you can see that most of the Earth has warmed. Yes, it's true that some areas like here have cooled, but for the most part, and then you can see the other graph on the bottom from 1880s, when this graph starts, to 2000, there's been a pretty much a steady increase of pretty much the average temperatures of the whole world. Alright, so here's number 3. So to summarize this point is, when using a graph, Make sure to read the information on the X and the Y axis, and then also look for a key, just like the other picture of that other graph, to help you understand the data. And if you do that, you'll probably analyze the graph correctly. Right, come up with a question for 3. Don't forget to write a 4-sentence summary and 1 advanced question. Have a great day.